A farmer visits an airport to buy a jet, but is insulted by the salesman for his simple clothes. The hum of jet engines echoed across the tarmac as private planes gleamed under the midday sun. Inside the upscale hangar, salesmen in tailored suits chatted with affluent clients who spoke the language of luxury: stock portfolios, mergers, and beachfront estates. So, when the farmer walked in, dressed in dusty overalls and scuffed boots, it was as if an alien had landed. Heads turned, eyebrows raised, and one salesman's smirk grew into outright laughter. But before we dive into what happens next, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from today? Drop a comment below. Lost, are we? The man sneered. The farmer didn't flinch. He adjusted his wide-brimmed hat and glanced around, his weathered face calm but observant. He wasn't here to explain himself. He was here to buy a jet. Samuel "Sam" Murphy had spent most of his 62 years working the land. His family's farm, nestled in the heart of Iowa, had been passed down for generations. Through grit and determination, Sam had turned the modest operation into a multi-million-dollar agricultural empire. While others underestimated him because of his simple demeanor, Sam was a sharp businessman who knew the value of staying grounded, literally and figuratively. Recently, Sam had made a decision. His business had grown so large that he needed quicker travel between his farms, partners, and suppliers across the country. Buying a jet wasn't about luxury, it was a practical investment. He'd done his research, identified the best models, and arrived at one of the most prestigious private jet dealerships in the country. But from the moment he walked into the hangar, it was clear that his appearance had already set the tone for how he'd be treated. "Can I help you, sir?" a sharply dressed salesman asked, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Yes," Sam said, his voice steady. "I'm here to buy a jet." The salesman snorted, crossing his arms. "Sure you are, and I'm here to buy a tractor." Sam tilted his head slightly, studying the man. "You got any jets in the $15 to $20 million range? I've been looking at the Gulfstream G280 and maybe the Embraer Legacy 500. The salesman's smirk faltered. Clearly, he hadn't expected the farmer to know the names of high-end private jets, let alone their price range. Still, he doubled down on his assumption. "Look, sir," the salesman said, emphasizing the "sir" like a joke, "these planes aren't affordable for someone like you. Maybe you'd be more comfortable at the regional airport down the road. They sell crop dusters." The laughter from a nearby group of salesmen stung, but Sam's face remained impassive. He adjusted his hat again and looked the salesman straight in the eye. "Do you get paid commission?" Sam asked. The salesman blinked. Yes. Why?" "Because you're about to lose one hell of a sale." Sam turned and walked out of the hangar, the sound of muffled chuckles following him. Outside, he pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "Mr. Jensen," Sam said, speaking to the dealership's owner, whose name he'd found during his research. "I just had the most interesting experience with one of your salesmen. Thought you'd want to hear about it." Within minutes, Mr. Jensen arrived at the hangar, his face a mixture of concern and curiosity. He was a polished man in his late 50s, clearly accustomed to dealing with high-net-worth clients. Sam explained what had happened, sparing no detail. Jensen's face darkened as he listened. "Mr. Murphy," Jensen said, "I deeply apologize for the way you were treated. Let me personally assist you in finding the perfect jet." The same salesman watched in stunned silence as Jensen escorted Sam back into the hangar, treating him with the kind of respect usually reserved for CEOs and celebrities. The farmer, with his dusty overalls and calm demeanor, was suddenly the center of attention. Sam walked past the salesman without a glance, heading straight for the Gulfstream G280 he'd been eyeing online. Jensen guided him through the plane's features, highlighting its speed, range, and custom interior options. Sam listened carefully, asking detailed questions that revealed his sharp understanding of both the machine and its utility. After nearly an hour, Sam turned to Jensen. "I'll take it," he said simply. The room went quiet. Even Jensen looked momentarily surprised. "You mean now?" "Now," Sam confirmed. "I've got the funds ready. Let's get the paperwork started." As Sam signed the final documents, he glanced back at the salesman who had insulted him earlier. The man's face was pale, his confident smirk long gone. "Son," Sam said, addressing the salesman for the first time since the confrontation, "if you'd treated me with half as much respect as I gave you, that commission check would have been yours. Lesson learned, I hope." The salesman stammered, but no words came out. Sam turned back to Jensen, who couldn't hide his own amusement at the situation. When Sam's brand-new Gulfstream G280 lifted off the runway a week later, the entire dealership staff watched in awe. To them, he had been a reminder that wealth doesn't always wear a suit, and that underestimating someone based on appearances is a mistake they wouldn't make again. Sam, on the other hand, simply tipped his hat to the pilot, leaned back in his seat and smiled. For him, it wasn't about proving anyone wrong. It was about doing what he came to do, and doing it on his terms. Sam's new jet became a symbol of his success, not because it flaunted wealth, but because it represented his determination, intelligence, and refusal to let others define him. For him, the jet was a practical tool, a way to streamline his growing business operations. But back in the small Iowa town where he lived, the story of how the farmer in overalls walked into the high-end dealership and bought a multi-million-dollar plane became something of a local legend. News of the incident spread quickly, fueled by word of mouth, and eventually picked up by a local newspaper. A reporter reached out to Sam, eager to hear his side of the story. "Well," Sam said with a chuckle, "I didn't walk in there planning to teach anyone a lesson. I just wanted a jet. But sometimes folks need reminding that you can't judge a book by its cover." The article went viral. Soon, Sam was fielding calls from major news outlets. One morning, as he sipped his coffee on the farmhouse porch, his assistant handed him the phone. "It's * Good Morning America," she whispered, her eyes wide. Despite the sudden media attention, Sam stayed humble. When the TV crew arrived at his farm for the interview, they found him tending to his chickens, his overalls as dusty as ever. "Mr. Murphy, you've become an internet sensation," the host began as the cameras rolled. "People are calling you the jet-set farmer. How does that feel?" Sam shrugged. "I'm still just a farmer. I work hard, I solve problems, and I don't have time to worry about what people think of me." "But you've made a statement," the host pressed. "You've shown the world that appearances can be deceiving." Sam paused, thinking. "I suppose so. But honestly, if there's one thing I hope people take away from all this, it's that respect doesn't cost a dime. Everyone deserves it, no matter what they're wearing or where they come from." Back at the dealership, things had changed. The salesman who had insulted Sam was quietly let go, replaced by someone who understood the importance of treating every customer with dignity. Meanwhile, Jensen, the dealership owner, reached out to Sam personally to apologize again. "I'd like to offer you something," Jensen said when they met for lunch. "Lifetime service for your jet, no charge." Sam smiled. "That's mighty generous of you, but it's not necessary. You already made things right by handling the situation like a professional." Jensen nodded, impressed once again by Sam's humility. "Then at least let me treat you to lunch." Sam tipped his hat. "That I won't turn down." In the months that followed, Sam's business continued to grow, thanks in part to the efficiency the jet provided. He struck deals with suppliers, expanded his operations, and even started mentoring young farmers who wanted to follow in his footsteps. But Sam's favorite moments were still the quiet ones, sitting on the porch, watching the sunset over the fields he'd worked his entire life. The jet, for all its utility, was just a means to an end. What mattered most to Sam was the land, the legacy, and the lesson he'd learned long ago. True wealth isn't in what you own, but in how you treat others. And that was a story he'd carry with him, wherever the skies took him next.